The Sherburne Business Association is a home for more than 40 Sherburne businesses. Well, welcome, Nancy.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, thank you for joining us. Having known you for many years, I have grown to know your work, and I know you have a passion for photography. Tell us about your background, your introduction to photography, your education.
Well, David, I began this journey way back in my senior year in college, where I joined a community darkroom at the Newhouse School of Communication at Syracuse University and fell in love with the process of developing black and white film. And since that time, I have continued and trained, and I just love the business of photography and image making.
Sounds like a good background. Do you have a studio in Sherburne?
Yes, our studio is located at Sherburne, 1 Coolidge Street, right across from Douse Orchards.
Easy to identify. Do you have a name for your studio?
The name of our studio is Auvergne Studios. Yes.
Thank you. Auvergne Studios. Where does that name come from?
The name originates from a region in France, in central France, where actually we lived in the late 80s. And it's a mountainous, beautiful region with rolling plains as well as the volcanic mountains, and it was very inspirational.
Interesting. Do you have studio hours?
Our studio hours are from 9 to 5 every day, weekdays, but my clients will most likely say that I'm available in the evenings and also on weekends for photo shoots.
I see. Just as an aside, Nancy's website is www.auvergnestudios.com, and we'll put that up at the end of the program. Nancy, I'm interested in what type of photography you do. What kind of a photographer are you? Aerial, portraits, fashion, what?
Actually, I cover a lot of bases. I love the connection of portrait photography, where you can really help make someone feel at ease and capture them in a natural environment. And I also have taken up aerial photography on the other spectrum, where it's a very exciting feeling to be flying over somebody's estate or working some commercial properties. So I'm pretty wide open.
You have a aerial shot that you did take. Could you show that to us?
Oh, certainly, yes. I brought a few. This is one image here in town, and it's taken from above, 4 different angles of this person's home. This is an example of a farm that I photographed in Walpole, and so I don't know if everyone can see that. And I have many other samples on my website.
You have portraits, though, too. Do you have any portraits that you brought along?
I did bring a few portraits as well. This is an example of portraiture. Actually, it's a graduate of Dover Sherburne. Her name is Sarah Warden. And this is another of a fellow in town, Alec Trube. They both graduated the year before this past year.
Well, they're very familiar faces to me, and I guess to most people in Sherburne. Do you have a particular area of interest or passion?
I am very excited about, again, working with families, working with individual seniors in high school, and it's the connection and that makes all the difference, and making somebody, as I said, feel comfortable, letting go, and just being themselves. So that's a very special part.
Is your work mainly confined to Massachusetts?
Primarily, I work around Massachusetts. I also have gone to Connecticut and other neighboring states, but primarily around here.
Interesting. What is your preferred format for working?
I actually take my studio with me. It's what we call a traveling studio. So I take my equipment and my lighting, and we go to a mutually agreed upon location. We know that in Massachusetts there are beautiful areas. I also, depending on my clients' wishes, will go directly to their homes.
And then most of your developing is done on a computer now or elsewhere?
A lot of what we call post-processing work after the photo shoot is complete will take place at my computer in my studio. I have multiple screens, and I do a lot of retouching as well as recropping and just making minor adjustments to the face.
I see. Well, when you produce and deliver your final images, are they in album form, or how do you produce your final images?
What I enjoy doing is having complete control from the beginning of the process right through the end. Therefore, after the photo shoot and the processing on the computer, I do custom printing right in my studio so that I can produce archival prints. And I have an understanding right from the beginning. I don't farm out anything to other vendors. I really try to do the whole thing. And then I deliver the photograph to the client. I review beforehand, and that's how I do it.
Interesting. Well, after you've delivered the photographs to your to people, I just wanted to ask you another question about photography. Where is photography heading?
David, that is a really wonderful question. Not long ago, I was in New York at a photo show, and I met up with a producer who has a movie coming out in this February called Acts of Valor. And he uses the same kind of camera that I use, only now there's the ability to add high-definition video. So we're going to start to see regular single digital photography high-end cameras in movie sets, and we're going to see images like you've never seen before. So I think that there's just such a future, and this will continue, I think, for decades.
Interesting. I've talked to you before about this, but do you have any projects that you're looking forward to or starting?
Actually, I'm headed to Haiti on Monday. This is my second trip to Haiti this year, and I'm very much looking forward to that. We work with an organization called Restorac Freedom Alliance, and we care for children who have basically lived slave-type lives. They were abandoned, their parents may have died, and so we educate, we house, and we feed these children and take care of them between the ages of 3 and 18.
How does your photography fit into that scheme?
My first trip was primarily to document, because this organization started last December, a year ago last December. So it was to document the children, the surroundings, their way of life. And then this trip, I will take pictures, but I will probably more connect with the children as well.
Well, good for you. This is probably a non-profit organization, too.
It is an NGO, non-governmental organization. I'm just in the process of finishing 18 portraits for these children before I go.
Probably should have another session on just what you're doing down there. Let's get back to photography. Do you have any favorite photographers? I mean, when you were growing up, did you like Ansel Adams or some of the more famous photographers?
You know, that was when I first got involved, and even before my senior year in college, I loved image making. I absolutely adore Ansel Adams and Edward Weston's work. It was a different kind of photography. It was and just vast landscapes and the different textures and grades between black and white, and so they were very inspirational to me. I also I look at images all the time of other photographers. I probably spend at least an hour a day looking at images, not just my own. And I also, through teaching, I've been teaching at the Dover Sherburne Community Ed program. I've looked at my students' work and have been very impressed and also inspired by people who like to take pictures.
Ansel Adams had many ways of sort of featuring his photographs. Do you have any favorite ways? Do you do these for books or brochures or individual pictures that you have for sale? Or?
Just recently, David, I was asked to actually use one of my photographs that I'd done for a family in Dover. Mr. John Thorndike commissioned me to restore one of his older photographs from in the 1930s. The New England Genealogical Society was also commissioned to write a book on the Lowell family descendants. There are, I think, something like 16 generations of Judge Lowell. And my picture is in the front cover of that book.
So you do restoration of old photographs?
I do quite a bit of restoration work. In fact, I've done some work in this town for some of the residents. I have taken pictures of those people who are now in their 80s, and they've given me pictures of them in their 20s and asked me to restore them because they might be torn. The pictures may come to me completely faded and sun damaged, and so I do quite a bit of restoration.
Interesting. Do you have a favorite photograph?
I do have several, but I do bring one along that I like very much. And this is a picture that actually was done many years ago of my daughter, who here is about 4 years old with our cat. My daughter is now 28 years old. But this was a picture that was modified and made into more of an artistic shot. And I love this picture. So
the eyes are captivating, aren't they?
They are. They are.
Very nice.
Thank you.
What is the most important thing to remember in getting a good image?
What I tell my students and anyone who consults with me is that it's not the equipment you use, it is rather the way in which you connect. If you're taking a picture, a portrait picture of your children, to catch them when they're natural. And the other thing is to consider the background, to take a look at textures and colors, and make sure you center pictures and make sure you focus on the important elements of the subject.
Interesting. If you had your choice of any area of photography, what would it be?
I really, like I said, I don't like to limit myself. I guess you'd call me an image capture person. It is both from above the ground in an airplane that I love looking down, and even going over the Mass Pike or seeing commercial buildings, as well as the more personal aspect of working with humans and families and that sort of thing.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for being here, and thanks for continuing this program on the businesses in Sherburne. And
thank you very much for having me.
I want to thank you for a most informative discussion of your profession, and also it certainly does increase my knowledge of what to look for in a photograph. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Nancy's website is www.averniastudios.com, and the studio telephone number is 508-655-8089. She is at 1 Coolidge Street across from Dow's Orchards.
That is correct.
And I just wanted to thank you for your time watching this program. I'm Dave Sorter for the Sherburne Business Association. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, David.